Fred told me that in all this technology that since it's a flat screen, the little laser pointers don't work, so I brought a big stick, so you will pay attention. What I'd like to do is expand a little bit on the article that I wrote that's in this month's pie card. They only give me so much space, and what I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about possibly, don't be afraid to change your layout. One of the things in the article is that let's try to go beyond our thinking of boxcars and buildings. And granted that probably just like all of you, I have a bunch of boxcars on the layout because in the era that I model, let's just call it give or take 50, that most all the items, commodities, were put in boxcars. So it only goes to show you that we probably have a lot of boxcars. But let's try to maybe think of some spaces where we can maybe put a boxcar or something a little different. The other thing is that you can ask Beverly, my wife, Steve Lasher, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but as soon as either at home or Steve says, you know, Russ, I was thinking, it's like, here it comes, and then it's like I want to say, no, it's not going to happen, and I get thinking about it, and it usually does happen. So, so the first thing that Steve had mentioned, that he said, you know, Russ, here it comes. Most of the buildings on the layout were kit bashed from the old layout, and they're on this one now, and the 1,001 things I want to finish on mine before I die is to re-kit bash them. But one of the ones that came over was the Walters R.J. Frost cold storage building. All right, this looked like a pretty good place to have it there, but see if I do this right. One of the things that I was kind of a little worried about is there's a turnout right in back of it. And even for guys, all the rest of the guys that are taller than me, that they still can't see over that. And Steve had said, you know, Russ, you should get rid of that, and we can make this a team track. And you can spot a lot more different cars other than Reapers for that. He said, but I have more. Let's get rid of this, and we'll put a double slip in. And we can put a lead down there. For those of you who haven't been over lately to see the layout, that this is going in, these are the arrival tracks, and this is going in to the ladder for the East Buffalo Yard. So it's like, oh, no, and then I got ballast down, the rails are painted, no, it's not going to happen. And then as I walk, after Steve goes, and it's right here, and I kind of walk, and, you know, it's like, and then the little voices in your head, you know, like Animal House. You never did like that. Oh, but it's the ballast, and you don't want it. But it'll be better. So, you know, good always wins out over evil. So, yeah. So there it went. And so now the big thing is when you have the layout in the finished part where mine is now, it's like, Okay, well, first of all, you guys, a lot of you said, it's time to do ballasting. I hate to do ballasting. Child's play. Since Lasher has been coming over to the house quite often, I've been getting to be an expert at taking up ballast. So, sometimes it goes real easy and sometimes not. So that's one of the considerations of putting the double slip in there. And what about the joists? That was the thing that I was worried about, is are the joists enough where I could get the double slip in? It just so happens, luckily, yeah, it would fit right over, so we're good. The other thing I was a little worried about is the approach to this. So this and this needed to be, with the double slip, needed to be, fairly smooth. We have a lot of action that goes on there. And, if you haven't noticed that on some layouts, that's the one thing that I learned from watching a Combat video from years ago. It's the late Lowell Joyner's track lane, where I'm exaggerating, but you don't want to get an approach to a switch of all things and not have it go smoothly. So that was one of the things that I was worried about, but it all kind of fit into place. So I extended the tracks where the cold storage was here. I extended them so we could get more. And again, on the 1001 things is to scratch build a little platform unloading dock for the team track. That will go in there. And you can see that the approach did work out rather well to go into the yard there. And the lead for this. One of the things that Steve pointed out, that if you want to try to increase or enhance your ops, is let's try to make an area for another guy to work. Down this end, there's a lot of industries, and so this would be going down would be eastbound on my layout. So it's the east lead. So now that we've put in these tracks and so on, that we've created another job. And the last couple of ops that I had, who's ever working the east end lead has stayed pretty busy all night. So that's a good thing. So, all except for the ballast, it's all done. And what now, who's ever working the east end lead, they can take a cut of cars that they want and bring them all the way down here and not interfere with the main. If they want to pick up or drop off a couple cars at the forwarding facility, then yeah, just a little bit to get out on the main and they're good. But the rest of this can all be done without interfering to the main. So we actually solved the problem. So again, at first it's like, no, I don't want to do this. I got to take up ballast. I got to redo this. But as you can see, it really did work out well, and guys are having a fun time working that part of the yard. The other thing with my layout, that a consideration that if you haven't been there, everything is either tortoise or blue point. There's not one caboose ground throw on the layout. One is I don't like them, and the other thing is, that you can see in some of that, is that guys have to reach over and grab it, and then sleeves if it's winter time, or throttles drag on scenery or cars. So anyway, so now I have to I really don't want to redo this whole panel. So before, this is the arrival tracks. Here's the matrix for the different yard tracks. So this line kind of came basically right up here because that's where it was, but what are we going to do now? So, yeah, drill a hole, move this over, and what about this guy? Because now we had to realign that a little bit. And again, our old friend Jim Petro had told me a long time ago, get yourself you know, a box, a set of numbered drills. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I can now kind of enlarge the hole just a little bit. So whatever dull rod that I chose fits right up in there. A little bit of sanding, and I don't know even from if you can see it from the screen, but there's the plugged up hole, so we've solved that problem. So
if you didn't have the arrow point to it, you wouldn't know it.
So the other thing, Steve is very tactful on how he approaches me now on things. And before I thought it was very good. I had a halfway made branch line wood structure, and this was going to be like for a storage building, and I would store the park the work train there. And he again said, you know, Russ, that's a waste of track there. Don't hold back, Steve. Tell me about it. So again, in an if I'm sure most of you know, but in case some of you don't, Steve is a retired Rock Island engineer. So what a better guy to tell you, like, no, this is not the way it works, or how about this is the way we can kind of make it look real in a model environment. So, you know, the RJ Frost storage, cold storage building. So instead of just 86 and that, you know, cut that down. What's going to happen? Some ops down the way is that this is the old Walther's platform. I have bought some Tichy ones, which are much better. And again, one of the 1,001 things to do. But the icing platform will come out here. I'm going to redo this to where there's no doors. There'll be a conveyor belt across, which happen on some setups with PFE there. And when the fruit train comes in, it will be cut. The east end crew working that part of the yard will take them over to the icing platforms, and then later on in the session they'll be put on in this case, a New York bound train. So we've done a lot of things by changing that one little area. We've created more jobs, a job for somebody or a position for somebody, and more jobs for him to do. The other half of the storage, cold storage building got put over here in Syracuse, which is down the line. And again, we've created now, the guys that are working the Syracuse turn, we've now given them another place to pick up and spot cars. Okay, one of the things that I mentioned in the article is that probably a fair amount of you have some type of, whether it's a diesel facility, a roundhouse, or something like that. And granted, it was a boxcar that probably brought in a number of supplies, lube, you know, you name it, brake shoes, the list goes on and on and on. So you had a store that is this building here, and we've there's a boxcar, sometimes there's a gondola, sometimes there's a flat that delivers a new or rebuilt 541 prime mover. So all that goes there, and we've created another spot to drop off a car. The other thing Steve pointed out is this is the boiler house for all the goodies for the roundhouse, and we were just dropping off coal there for, gotta have that. And he said, well, if they're burning all that coal, you're going to get ashes. So there's a way to drop off a gondola to pick up the ashes when they're filled up. So again, we've created something else for somebody to do. And it doesn't matter if you're doing steam, transition, or modern, all the motive power had to have some sort of sand. So we made a makeshift sand house here, and got to bring the sand in. And the next stops, this will happen. Guys have missed it the last couple of times, but you'll have to use the turntable to get to this track to pick up either the empty and replace it with a full sand hopper there. But it doesn't have to be, you can think of all sorts of ways if you have some type of engine facility, and it doesn't have to be here. It could be if you don't have the room for an extra track, it could be here with a unloading ramp or dock, and you could spot a car there temporarily. Any way you could work this into your ops. Again, our old friend Jim Petro, here's his roundhouse is in back here. This is his diesel facility, but you can see the ash pit, and looks like we've got a full one here, and somebody just spotted an empty one inside this portion of the diesel facility. Somebody's dropped off whatever crates are for the facility there. Evidently it goes right through the one portion of the diesel facility. Looks like he has a storage building here that has a little platform to drop off stuff. Who knows, maybe he was, when he took this pic for me, that maybe they were working, non-ops, doing some upgrading, repairing on the layout, and this sand hopper just got spotted inside the coal dump for the coal tower there. But obviously, someplace on the layout, same as mine, that they're going to have sand dropped off. So if you want to try to work in more ops, more different ways of spotting different cars other than box cars, there you have it. Okay, new project going on with mine. Again, it was brought up that, Russ, here it comes again. You don't have anything to service your diesel. We're working on the roundhouse, or the servicing of the steam. And when I first started this, I said, 2 tracks. I'm not going to put all the chutes down there. And I kind of found out with Steve that are you going to do anything with the coaling tower? Yeah, I'm going to get to it. Well, when? Sometime. You want me to take that home? You don't now. I'll get to it. Give it to me. Okay. So, Steve's such a great modeler, and of course So we have chutes on this side, so it's like, okay, I guess I gotta put a track there. And then he said, you don't have a ready track. I said, I'm out of room. It won't be a great ready track, but this I put in just when guys, this is West Buffalo, and it kind of gets to be a busy turn, and if they want to just stash some cars there, well, maybe they're pulling something else. I thought that'd be great. So this is going to be the ready track now. And the same problem is back at the east end lead. It's like, can I pull this off? Are the joists underneath there? And also, this was in the planning stage, but a couple more slides and you can see what's going on there. So, do a lot of head banging under the, under the layout, and we tried a couple of different solutions, but this is what we're going to come up with now. So, just to take this, obviously, what's going to happen is once I get this in place and this in place, then I can see how much room that I have underneath here to get the other tortoise. And then that will all come into play. The other thing, kind of going back, Jim Petro designed the layout, and almost from the very first, there was like, I don't think that's quite right, we should do that. One of the things that even, this is way back when, there was only one track here, and this was the main comes over here and goes to the passenger station, and all the freights come here, bypass the passenger station, go right to the freight yard. Jim said, you got room to put another track in there. And of course the first, no, there was no ballast down or anything, but the fascia was up. And he said, come on, let's take this down. And we scabbed in. The biggest part was up here and down here where it curved in on either side. It was close to the end. The rest of it, there was plenty of room. So, get out the old tight bond and drywall screws, scabbed in a little extra and redid the fascia. And those two tracks have been invaluable there. Anybody who has worked that turn needs those extra tracks. So that all worked out. Yep. So, again, just like before, a monumental pain in the patoot. But it's all coming together, and it will be a real nice addition for hopefully the next ops, to where we can really I'm thinking that there's going to be enough action in there. We'll probably get a hostler, and he'll probably do nothing but get engines ready and so on like that. There'll be so much activity in there. Also, compliments to Mr. Lasher, but there you go. So now the ramps at the diesel servicing facility are up and running. We got to do a few more things, but that will be again, keep some guy going over there all the time. Oh yes, and so my thought was on the Central, most all their facilities, the two of the biggest ones are Croton Harmon, which is about 35 miles north of Grand Central, up the Hudson. That's where they changed out from electric to steam or diesel later on. The next really big one is, or was, up in Cleveland, the Collinwood Yard and facility. Huge repair, servicing centers. So I thought, well, I want that too, and my plan was to have the same thing, just a little shorter, doubled up there and come back. And again, Steve said, no, you just don't have the place to serve a thing. He was right. So again, just like the cold storage plane, and this is over here now. You can say anything you want. It's a repair facility. It's kind of I'm thinking it blends in a little bit and fits well there because it goes around to a curve. So this is Cecil. Tell me, I took this last week at your house. Is this the one that you won your prize on?
Yes.
Okay. If you missed it for, a few months ago, the Mid-Central Region Convention, Cecil won the first prize for scratch building this stockyard pen here. So I did this, because this is kind of neat. So again, in keeping with the theme about other than boxcars, certainly, stock cars ran a lot, and maybe you're thinking, we need a big old one here like Cecil to kind of represent. Well, he's in Texas, and yeah, they had a boatload of big cattle facilities, but look at what Jim came up with. Okay? So, this is only this much from the fascia. You can spot 2 stock cars there, and who's to say that this doesn't go all the way out like Cecil's, but the deal is you can still get, as Steve likes to say, a flavor. You can still get the flavor of, having some type of cattle pen there loaded on your stock cars. Bob?
Most model railroading involves imagination.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And if we can just, again, give the flavor, the suggestion that this is going on there, great. But again, don't, not that Cecil's isn't great, but don't think that you have to have, just a big old, to get some stock cars. So again, on Jim's layout, and like all, still a work in progress. When he took this, obviously, I don't think the gas storage tanks go right there, but
No, I think I'll just have it.
anyways, here's where he does have the Walters slaughterhouse over here, and that's fine. But the thing that I had mentioned in the article that I couldn't get they couldn't fit in is that if you have room, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this long, but a clean out track. Once the cattle were unloaded, that you'll see that the one rail was just almost like a super elevated curve, and the cars leaned enough that they would clean out all the leftover goodies, and then they would be put into carts and taken someplace. Also, if you want to try to fit it in, that after the little moo-moos go to their death, there's some leftover parts, and those would get loaded in a tank car and taken someplace. So again, just by, like Bob said, a little imagination and thinking outside of your boxcar building scenario, that you can get in your stock cars, you can get in a tank car, you can get all sorts of work for guys to do.
After you have stock cars, you can also have the leather works because they got to process the hide.
There you go.
Yeah.
Special cars to transport.
Just a few other quickies. Again, I'm not saying that it really happens that way, but maybe. My Nabisco plant, one of the things, of course, the cookies and the biscuits and the Oreos get loaded in and shipped out, but how about whether the, had to be some type of chocolate to make the Oreos, right? So, okay, we'll put a baker's chocolate milk type car there, and the instructions are to spot it on the far track. And as soon as I get done with this is leftover from the old layout, this is the extension on the new. I'm going to try my best to weather it to look like all one building there, but there'll be numbers on the door, and again, you'll have to spot that particular boxcar at that door. Again, creating more and more work. How about General Electric? Okay, sure, boxcars had to bring in parts and so on like that. How about maybe a gun with wire spools? I'm sure they use some wire there. I'm working on a depressed flat that will have a transformer on it that will be taken out. So, and how about Sherwin-Williams paint? I would guess that any of their chemicals probably came in boxcars in 55-gallon drums. But hey, maybe they ordered bulk and it came in a tank car. Maybe not, but again, it's a way to spot a different type of a car other than a box car on your layout. In the article, I said I didn't have an ash pit. I got one now. And so here's something that's going to be kind of interesting. That you notice here is the ramp going up to the coal dump, and we're going to have to spot a gondola right here to get the cinders and the ashes out. So how do you think we're going to do that? No takers. A couple of different ways. The ones who have worked Albany on my layout, that there's an interchange, and the interchange to the New Haven, it's a 4% grade, rather steep, but you're only taking 4 or 5 cars either up the hill. And again, thanks to Mr. Petro's engineering, that we have a tortoise going sideways with a little lever, and the pin goes up for the car stop.
Yeah.
We'll see if we have enough room to do the same there. The other thing that I've seen that Jim has done is if you can take, we could use phosphorus bronze, some very thin stuff, enough that Jim used actually kind of a stiff couple of bristles from a bristle brush. But the idea is that, and since there will only be one car spotted there, that, you know, this should work, but you know, when you drag the car over it, the bristles go like that. When you cut the car, the bristles are steep enough where it just holds the axle right there, and you're going. So either way, we'll try to figure that out. So anyways, so that's what I got for today. Like I said, it's just a little extension of my article in the pie card, and it's just a way of thinking to try to get you to expand your horizon beyond the boxcar, and don't be afraid that if you want to change something on your layout, it's scary and it's not pleasant, but the end result is good, and as Jim says, it's an adventure. Questions or comments? Or
They're going to be going sort of fast to go across that track, right?
I'm sorry, Mark?
Going to have to make some speed to go across that ski jump there. That look like a good 6-inch
Well,
drop.
no, but when you think about it, this is for steam. They're heavy. It will just mash it.
Okay. I was wondering how you're going to explain that.
Well, you were talking about a car that could come in as a tanker versus barrel. My dad worked at DuPont, and certain tank cars would come in and had to be heated. Well, there was a situation on the railroad where the car couldn't get there, and they had to bring it in by barrel, and they had to heat it up, feed it out, and all that kind of stuff. So you have a justification for tank car railman that a box car has. He said they hated it when the steam car couldn't make it.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Go fix your layout.